What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another day, second day of 2024. On today's show, we're going to be talking about Star Wars Outlaws. Kotaku had an article talking about the massive narrative director gives a sneak peek of the galaxy's criminal underworld. So we're going to go over that article. We might watch a video of Star Wars Outlaws from another content creator going into certain things. Hear their opinions and whatnot. We're going to talk about the IGN has the biggest games coming in 2024, so we'll watch that video and talk about those. And then Square Enix president comes out and states that the company will be aggressive in applying AI to their video games. So these are the topics that we're talking about. We do this Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning to about noon Eastern. So if you like what we do here, make sure you hit that like button down below. Hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed. And if you'd like to go above and beyond that, you become a member as little as $5. Other than that, we do uploads, we do live streams, we do gameplay, and we also do podcasts on this channel. So if any of those sound fun and you want to come by, we're here Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning. We're here Monday through Wednesday from 8 p.m. to about midnight. And Thursday night, we do a podcast from 8 p.m. to about 10. What's going on, Travis? What's going on, Behemoth? Gilly Ghost, Dave Rose, Dustin Straw. What's going on? Good morning, Farmer. Good morning, Kylo. Good morning. Happy New Year. How's everyone doing? The music loud enough? In the background? Maybe I can make it a little bit more louder. All right. What do you guys want to start with? You guys want to start with the biggest games coming out in 2024, or do you want to talk about Star Wars Outlaws this morning? I'm gonna give a... Or do you want to talk about the AI from Square Enix? We're doing a little bit of audience participation this morning. What story would you like me to go into first? If you're new to the channel, we do very much talk to chat. Start with the IGN. It's really like speed reading. I know you're just covering the news, but at this point, how could anyone give a fuck about Star Wars? Well, again, Farmer, you're here all the time. You know that I say that the Star Wars games are much better than the Star Wars shows and movies. So... Travis says Outlaws. Rose says biggest games. I don't even know if we'll have time, I'll be honest, to get to Square Enix, because I honestly don't really care about the AI stuff. Farmer, what makes you hyped? Like, what do you like that you're not disgruntled about? And I'm not saying as that as a shot at you, right? There's a lot of stuff that is out there that does depress me and stuff like that. But I know you come in here a lot, and you're always trying to say, well, this is shit, that is shit. So what gets you excited? And I'm not asking about what Star Wars gets you excited. I'm asking what gets you excited in video games. I feel ya. I'm a complete doomer about entertainment, and I get that. So that's why I'm asking, what would get you excited? Like, what are you looking for? What IP? Or are you just looking for? Are you looking for them to stop shitting on your IPs? Is that what you're getting excited for? Quintar, what's going on, man? Happy New Year. Thank you very much for the 5 gifted memberships. Thanks for becoming a member. Appreciate that. The Star Wars games have been great. They've had some awesome stories with reignites my love for Star Wars in the first place. I can agree with you there, Rose. There's a lot of games like as doom and gloom for Star Wars in the entertainment sphere as far as like television shows and movies. The video games haven't been bad.
Thanks for becoming a member.
Stop trying to impress us with the tech and write good stories again. I can feel that. The tech will happen with good production teams.
Thanks for becoming a member.
You know, that's the funny part. You know, Z, we talked about it yesterday about the gaming prices going up. And they're like, we have to raise the prices. We have to raise the prices. And it's like, why are they raising the prices? Because the technology is getting too technical and they have to hire. It's like, we the gamers are here to just play the games that you deliver, right? So if they just give us a game, it doesn't have to be like, and I compare this to films, it doesn't have to be like Avatar. It doesn't have to, like Fast and Furious, when it started, it was just car racing, like street racing. And now it's like over the top jargon, and it's like, you know, they're going to space and stuff, and it's like, well, the movies are getting more expensive. Well, you don't have to up it like, you know, like this far. Just make a good story and then just, you know, a little bit more action, a little bit more thing. No, they just go way over the top. Outlaws' '1 thing needs to do for me is not being crazy space wizards. I want a story about smugglers. I think you're getting that, Travis. I think you're getting that. Let's go out, Barry. I have no care for Star Wars as long as the game is good. It looks decent. There you go. Right, Starship Troopers looks fun, not graphic game changing. Right. It's just like, hey, what about if we take Starship Troopers and we put 16 players and 16 players can play together against the alien, right? And everyone's like, that sounds like a really good idea, right? They didn't like go 100 players against these and then it runs like shit. They're like 16 players up against the aliens and it's just fun. That's it, right? They didn't put it like super graphic, photorealism with 100 players, with 100 guns and different. They kept it super simple. They're like 16 people. Let's do one planet right now. Let's do the aliens. Let's do the base building type stuff. And it's fun. Travis says, I don't need my games to look amazing just to be fun to play. I can enjoy a good 64 era graphics if it's fun and has a good story. I just want some good stories with great gameplay loop. But okay, aren't there a lot of games out there, though, Farmer, that have pretty good stories? I'm not talking about Oscar award-winning stories, but there's a lot of games out there that have good stories. Barry says, I remember getting Star Wars Episode 1 Racer for N64, and wow, that was an amazing game at the time. Right. That's why I wait. That's why I wait to buy games. When you're listening, like you want me to tell you what a good story is? I mean, how far do you want me to go back? Are you talking to like very, very recent, like last year? I mean, within the last couple years, Jedi Fallen Order was a good story. Jedi Survivor's story was a good story. And I'm not even just talking about Star Wars, right? Red Dead Redemption 2 had a good story. Again, these are subjective, though, because not everyone likes all the games, right? Mass Effect story was a fantastic story. I thought, like Travis doesn't agree, but I thought Grand Theft Auto 5's story with the 3 protagonists and the way they told the story, I thought it was an interesting story. I thought it was fun. I don't think it was like amazing, but I think it was a good story. Right? I haven't played all the way through Baldur's Gate 3, but Baldur's Gate 3 is supposed to have a really good story. Jedi Survivor was a platform sim. Yeah, but go back a couple of sentences. You asked that you wanted something with a good story. I just said Jedi Survivor has a good story. You're like, it's a platformer sim. You said good story and good gameplay. Oh, yeah. Both God of Wars. Thank you, Rose. Right? I thought the Spider-Man games had good stories. Both the 2018 and Miles Morales. You're talking about stories and not gameplay style. He said up above, I just want some good stories with good gameplay loop. Right? Now, obviously, not all games are going to have, like, the perfect game to come out has good story, good gameplay loop, good mechanics, and stuff like that. And that's, like, really hard to do. There's games that have good story. There's games that have good gameplay loop. There's good, and they have shitty story, right? There's games that have one of the things, but not all of the things. Hellblade has a great story. Hard to follow, but great experience. So looking forward to Hellblade 2. That's what I was saying. What type of game is up your alley, Farmer? Right. Again, it's very subjective, right? A game that someone else likes, I could hate. But you're looking for that unicorn, right? You're looking for a game that has amazing story. You said good. I won't put words in your mouth. You said good story, good gameplay loop, right? And unfortunately, a lot of games don't have that. They lean towards, you know, graphically, story, gameplay loop, mechanics. Star Wars Dark Force Remastered is coming out next month, February 28th. Is it? Let me see. February 28th. It doesn't say it on Opera GX, but doesn't mean it's not coming out. February's got a lot of games coming out. Horizon games both had good stories. Witcher 3. The unicorn is Superman on N64. Right, Kylo. That's bad story, bad gameplay, bad graphics. That is a unicorn. It did nothing right. Witcher 3 is actually my favorite RPG game of all time. You know what's funny, Rose? I absolutely love Witcher 3, but the time it came out, and I've told the story before, I watched Carnage play it on Twitch because my son was just born around that time, and it was just chaotic where I couldn't play games. So I watched Carnage play Witcher 3, and I literally watched him play it for, I don't know, 180 hours. Right? He did every little nook and cranny, and I watched him specifically because he plays games like I do. Like, he goes in and tries to do every little thing, and I absolutely loved it. Then when I got around to play, I bought it like a couple years later. I bought the game of the year edition, and it took me a year and a half to play it. And then when I started playing it, I only played like 8 hours, and I put it down because I was like, I already know what happens. I enjoyed it so much watching him play that I never played it myself. Because just time. I just didn't have the time to put it in. Put 600 hours into that game. I tried numerous times to get into Witcher. I couldn't, and just couldn't. Might take my 4th attempt. I'm the same, Kylo. I can't do it. I don't know why. Destiny has great gameplay. Warframe gameplay is awesome, too. Yeah, but the story and stuff for Destiny, at least at the beginning of Destiny, the story in Destiny, right? Destiny 1 wasn't very good. This is a shit story. Right? And you see what I'm saying? You can get really good gameplay. You can get really good graphics, but it missed out on the story, right? And then now the story's getting better. At least it was when I played it. I stopped playing 3 years ago now. But it's very hard for a game to have all the things that you're looking for. Destiny's gameplay is just Borderlands. The gunplay is really good, Travis. The gunplay in Destiny is really good. Even though I don't like it anymore, I can tell you that Destiny's gunplay and the graphics, they're beautiful. Destiny for me was gameplay. Spam the skip the cutscenes. Gameplay. I just watched. What is that? You guys know who I'm talking about. Travis, what is that? I can't think of it off the top of my head now. I posted in Discord. Let me find what the name of the channel is. Viva La Dirt, right? Viva La Dirt, right? I love their videos because they do with the NPC type of stuff, like skip. Like people that play games like MMOs or anything like that, they're like skip. They're like, welcome, adventurer, and it's skip. A lot of people don't even listen to any of the dialogue, and it's funny to me because everyone's like, oh, the story's crap to a lot of games, right? Insert game here. And that's exactly how people do. They just run in, go up to a quest, they go spam, and they're like, all right, and they run off. And it's just funny to me because a lot of people don't care about the story. A lot of people don't care about the graphics. A lot of people don't care about that stuff. They just want to get in and kill things. Just like brain dead type of stuff. There's no Destiny, Warframe, Borderlands-esque games being made now. Yeah, sure there is. There's the First Descendant. What's it called? The Transformers Reactivate's coming out. There's a couple other games. There's so many games that are like those. There's plenty of games coming out. Hell, they're making a Division 3. Suicide Squads. All right, let's go with the biggest games. We'll watch this video. Helldivers 2, yeah, L, that's another one. Good morning, L. Sorry. Battlefront 2 was good. Well, that goes back to, you said that Star Wars games are. Star Wars in general is bad, but now you're coming around saying Battlefront 2 was good, right? There are games that are good, especially in Star Wars. Star Wars, out of all the media forms of Star Wars, right now, video games is probably the best for Star Wars, for stories and whatnot. So that's why I'm looking forward to Outlaws. I'm excited for Outlaws. I'm not over expectations of Outlaws, but I'm excited for Outlaws. Go on, Ford. Happy New Year. Battlefront 2 was shit. Was shit. All those loot boxes ruined it. Battlefront 2, the game itself wasn't shit. It was the monetization and the business practices of EA that ruined Battlefront 2, but Battlefront 2 itself fundamentally is a good game. Right? Battlefront 2 is a really, really fun game. It's just that, the suits got a hold of it, and they tried to just like the suits are ruining Star Wars in the film industry. Instead of making something for the fans that are already there, they're like, screw those fans, let's get new fans. It's like, what? Let's just make something new. And go get your Rebel Moon fans. All right, let's bring up this. All right, this is IGN's biggest games coming in 2024. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of 30NSG. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about, or watching, and giving you my thoughts on IGN's biggest games coming to 2024. So let's get started.
2023 was heralded as the biggest year in the history of video games to ever video game a game of videos, and as that incoherent word salad might suggest, it was a busy year for us here at IGN. That said, 2024 is shaping up to have quite a few big releases as well to keep you from finishing your 2023 backlog that you piled up because you were so busy tormenting Koroks and trying to get to second base with Shadowheart. Anyway, here are some of 2024's biggest upcoming games. Check it out! Now, before we get into it, just a quick disclaimer that video game release dates are about as reliable as weather forecasts at this point, so it's
Nope. If you tell us a release date, that's the date. No, I hate when they tell the dates. They could, obviously, they can move all the time.
Possible, if not likely, that a few of these get delayed or otherwise shuffled around. Also, this is by no means a comprehensive list of everything coming out in 2024. It is just a handful of games that we thought you might like to have on your radar. If something that you're excited about personally didn't make the cut, I swear it's nothing personal or political.
You better say my game. You don't say my game, I'm coming for you.
Or weird, or sinister, or Machiavellian. We can only talk about so many games before our video editor dies of exhaustion.
Oh my god, I almost died! I almost died! That was so scary. Thank you.
It's okay. It's alright. It's alright. If you want a more thorough roundup, every month we put up a new video detailing that month's upcoming releases, so keep an eye out for that every month, around the time rent's due, maybe. That January one is already up, so go watch that once you're done with this. If you're sitting around checking your enchanted hourglass, waiting on that Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake, good news, Ubisoft whipped up a nice 2.5D Prince of Persia Metroid.
I'm not really interested in Prince of Persia, right? Like, I don't hate it. I don't hate Prince of Persia. It's just like, it's coming out. It comes out on the 18th. We looked it up yesterday. Now, obviously, that could change or whatnot, but I'm not, like, super excited about this. So, let me know what you guys think.
To hold you over, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown goes back to the series' side-scrolling platformer roots, but with some modern twists. That's out for basically everything January 18th. On January 26th, hot on the heels of last year's new installments of beloved fighting games Street Fighter.
Another game I'm not really interested in, Tekken, right? Tekken 8. I stopped playing fighting games. This is, again, nothing against Tekken. Just not excited for fighting games. I was thinking about going back and playing Injustice because I never played Injustice 1 and 2. And I was thinking about going back and playing that.
In Mortal Kombat, Tekken enters the fray with its 8th entry, which is putting those new-gen consoles through their paces and really showing what Unreal 5 can do. That's on PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. That same day on new-gen and PC, as well as last-gen, is Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. That's a really expensive way of saying Yakuza 8, though the series has officially rebranded to its Japanese.
We're 3 for 3. I'm not interested in Like a Dragon. Never played any of those game series at all. So I'm not interested in Like a Dragon. Real quick, Travis says, also, good for Larian Studios for standing up to Garbage Pass. What do you mean standing up? The way you made that comment, Travis, is like Game Pass is like a bully. Like, dude, you got to come on to Game Pass. You got to come on Game Pass. You got to come on. Like, they made a game. They sold a game. They don't need Game Pass. A lot of people go to Game Pass because they need Game Pass to get out to people. Fortunately, Larian Studios doesn't need to do that. It's okay if games don't come to Game Pass. It's not like they stood up to the bad man. You're saying like it's not that, Mike? But it isn't. There's plenty of games that didn't come to Game Pass. There's plenty of games that didn't come to Game Pass. You're saying like they fought the man. Woo! They didn't make it. They didn't get to Game Pass. They're the winners, like the Empire and the Rebels. Like, what are we talking about? They just didn't go to Game Pass.
Japanese name, kind of like how Dragon Quest was Dragon Warrior in the West for decades, and then they finally made the switch to Dragon Quest Worldwide. Anyway, notable Dragon Quest player Ichiban Kasuga returns for another wacky hero's journey, and this time...
Whatever you have to tell yourself in your fantasy world of them fighting the rebellion, by all means, go ahead.
He's teaming up with semi-pro pocket circuit racer and UFO catcher enthusiast Kazuma Kiryu, who you may recognize from like the last 9 Yakuza games. Or maybe not. He has a new haircut. Who knows? He's so mysterious. As you probably heard by now, the Arkham architects over at Rockstar.
Now, see, I'm interested in Suicide Squads. I'm not in any way, shape, or form worried about Rocksteady making a good story. I am kind of worried if Rocksteady can make a live service game and how they move ahead with it throughout the year, right? Again, I've said this multiple times on multiple videos. They have to have the stuff ready to go to constantly give more content inside of Suicide Squads. If they don't do it, it's going to go the same way as Marvel's Avengers, and I don't want it to go the same way as Marvel's Avengers because I like Marvel's Avengers. I would like to see them support this game, but this is the first game on their list that I'm interested in 2024.
Rocksteady are ditching the Dark Knight and trying their hand at a co-op looter shooter starring Task Force X, better known as the Suicide Squad. The squad's mission? Kill the Justice League. The name of this game? The Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. You probably could have put that one together. The release date? February 2nd for New Gen and PC. That same day, if you miss
Awesome, Rose. Yeah, well, definitely. Anybody who wants to play when I'm playing, you're more than welcome to jump in.
Persona 3 when it was on PS2, and then on PSP, and then later playable in PS Vita, well, first of all, shame on...
I'm not interested in Persona 3 either. I never played any of the Personas. So there's a lot of games so far in 2024. I'm going to have a lot more time to play Suicide Squad.
On you, but second of all, good news because it's
rebuilt
as a new modern console RPG, and it's coming to everything but Switch, which is sad because the Switch is the closest thing we have anymore to a PSP or a Vita. Who knows? Maybe they'll port it. The original Helldivers was a tough as nails top-down.
I'm excited, intrigued by Helldivers. Never played the first one. Never played the first Helldivers. I'm interested in Helldivers. The bad part about this is that it comes around the same time as Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad comes out, I think, January 30th. This comes out, I believe, February 8th. Yeah, that's what it says in the upper corner. February 8th. So, unfortunately, for Helldivers, this is going to get pushed back unless Suicide Squad is... I'm either done with Suicide Squads or Suicide Squad just falls really bad off for me, and then I'll try this. But this is going to go on my first backlog of 2024, but I'm interested in Helldivers 2.
Down co-op twin-stick shooter about zapping aliens on other planets, and the sequel takes the core gameplay loop but reinvents it from a third-person perspective, adding quite a bit of scale and complexity to the missions and wearing its Starship Troopers influences even...
I think this game, though, is going to be really light, because it's not a full-price game. And that's not a shot at Helldivers in any way, shape, or form. It's just not a full-price game, meaning it's probably going to fall off real fast. And I compared this to... Starship Troopers. Okay, Starship Troopers is a fun game. I still play it every now and then, but it falls off real fast.
And more proudly on its sleeve. Would you like to know more? Well, it hits PS5 and PC on February 8th, so there you go. One game that has been in the works for quite a while is...
We know Skull and Bones is not on my list. Okay, I played the beta. I've been talking crap about this game for years. It's been 7 years, 8 years, 10 years. I think it's 10 years in the making, 7 delays, 4 revamps. The only thing I say to people about this is do not get this day one. You want to get the game, just give it time. Don't get it day one, don't get it week one, don't get it month one. Just wait. Take that money you were going to spend on Skull and Bones right away and go spend it on one of these other games.
Skull and Bones, what began as a spin-off of Assassin's Creed Black Flag's naval combat has been delayed something like 7 times, so pardon me if I'm skeptical that this game will actually come out on February 16th, but that's what they're saying this time, and that's on New Gen, PC, and Amazon Luna. On the 29th, Cloud, Tifa, Barrett, and company are back, joined by quite a few familiar faces.
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I know everyone's excited for this. I'm not excited for this. I haven't played a Final Fantasy game in decades. I think the last one I played was 11. I guess a decade. Didn't 11 come out in like 2009, 2011? I forget when it came out. But that's the last time I played a Final Fantasy.
And now they're turned loose at a massive, sprawling, open world.
If it's AC Black Flag, I'm in. It's not. It's not, Farmer. It is not.
An infinitely more detailed recreation of the original FF7's overworld map, which you can travel around by Chocobo or on a Segway if you so desire. FF7 Remake was an incredibly ambitious start, and it sounds like Rebirth is going to be a substantially larger undertaking in all the best ways. Homeworld 3 is the long overdue follow-up to a beloved deep space strategy game that was released...
I never got into Homeworld. I've watched multiple videos on this, right? I've watched a lot of videos on Homeworld. I've always been interested in it, but I just have never taken the plunge into Homeworld.
Over 20 years ago, on March 8th, this franchise emerges from cryosleep on PC, so here's hoping it can adapt to life in the 2020s. On March 20th, one of the great grandpappies of survival horror gets a new installment. At a glance, Alone in the Dark might seem like another remake along the lines of what Dead Space and Resident Evil...
Alone in the Dark? I don't remember hearing about this one.
Did recently, but it's being framed as a revival, which is fitting given the Southern Gothic themes. It's telling a whole new story, but longtime fans will likely get some deja vu as it is set in Derceto Manor, where the original 1992 game took place. On March 22nd, Dragon's Dogma.
Okay, so I never played the Dragon Dogma, right? The first one. This game looks fantastic. This looks, and I know people will be like, it's not that, but what's it called? Dragon Age, right? I played the Dragon Age games. I know it's not the same, but this looks great. This looks phenomenal. This might be something that I pick up. It comes out in March, so I might pick this up. And now I've asked some people, do I need to play the first one to play the second one? They said, no, you could just probably play the second one. So I don't have time to jump back into the first one and then play the second one. But I might pick this up. If I don't pick it up right on day one, I'll probably pick it up down the road.
The 2 drop.
This might be backlog number 2.
The feverishly anticipated sequel to Capcom's criminally underrated open-world action RPG. This has the same kind of extremely vocal fan base that Demon's Souls did
Oh, that's why I don't remember it, Travis.
before FromSoft dropped Dark Souls and it blew up so big it inspired a whole friggin' genre. That's not to say that Dragon's Dogma 2 is the second coming of Dark Souls, but it'll probably click with Elden Ring fans dying for a big, sprawling Western fantasy action RPG with crunchy boss fights. Meanwhile, if you're ready to commit seppuku because Sony and Sucker Punch have been shinobi silent regarding the next Ghost of
Rise of Ronin, have no interest in it. I also have no interest in it because I don't own a PlayStation 5. But if I had a PlayStation 5, I wouldn't get this either.
Tsushima, Rise of the Ronin might hold you over, and this will likely click with antsy Soulsborne fans as well. The PS5 exclusive open-world action RPG comes courtesy of Team Ninja, the studio behind last year's Wolong Fallen Dynasty, the Nioh games, and of course, Ninja Gaiden. Still on March 22nd, and probably considerably less.
Not interested in this either. I don't know if my son's interested in this, but not interested in this at all.
Punishing than those last 2 games, there is Princess Peach Showtime. Mario's Mushroom Matriarch takes the spotlight in a long overdue solo adventure of her own. This isn't a role-playing game in the conventional sense, but the whole thing is framed as a stage production and Peach dons different costumes with different abilities to play various roles, if you get what I'm saying. The stages and set pieces will be just that, in a literal theatrical sense, so it'll be nice to see Peach flexing her dramatic range. Here's hoping it's a crowd pleaser. I probably don't need to tell you that is exclusively on Switch, because it's a Nintendo game. Anyway, enough about cute princess stuff. If you're looking for an ass-kicking
Now, I'm not a big fan of Dark Souls games, but this game, we saw this like 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. This game looks insane. Graphically, gameplay-wise, right? Story's probably going to be really good. This looks insane. I'm interested in this game. This might be game number 3 on the backlog.
Your calendar for August 20th, because that is when the long-awaited black myth Wukong will make its journey westward, probably to beat you up. Developed by Chinese studio Game Science, this Souls-like pulls from the classic folktale Journey to the West, which was the original inspiration for Dragon Ball, and which was loosely adapted into a video game back in 2010 in Ninja Theory's Enslaved Odyssey to the West. Our Black Myth preview from last year says it's definitely got some Soulsborne DNA, but plays in a way that it's all its own. That's on new gen and PC. Meanwhile,
yeah, that looks good. That looks real good.
a few weeks and about 38,000.
It's another game we were excited for last year in 2023, Warhammer 40k Space Marines 2. I'm sold on this because of the Warhammer series and also that it's co-op and you can play with your friends. So I'm interested in this game. So this is definitely, whenever this comes out, September 9th. I mean, we've got plenty of time for that game, but I'm definitely going to get this game.
1,000 years later, there's
It's also on Game Pass, I think.
Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2, which drops September 9th. Years of War's muscle-bound dudes in power armors with chainsaw guns copied Warhammer 40k's homework a little bit, so it was only...
It did get delayed, Rose. It got delayed. It was supposed to be out in November, December of last year, and then it got postponed up until late next year. So I don't even know... I don't know if it's going to come out September 9th. It might get delayed again.
Fair that Warhammer did the same. Back in 2011, the original Space Marine was widely praised as a totally solid Gears-like, set against the utterly bonkers backdrop of Games Workshop's tabletop game. Now, a whole middle schooler's lifetime later, it's getting a sequel, which looks to take full advantage of new...
It reminds you of Gears of War? I don't see a problem. I like Gears.
New-gen hardware to render massive swarms of Tyranids for you to brutally eviscerate in the name of the Emperor. Following the same Warhammer 40k naming convention of...
Here's another game that I didn't play the first one. Lono said I should play the first one. A lot of people said I should play the first one. I don't know. I just don't. It doesn't appeal to me. I think it's beautiful. I think I appreciate the studio, what they did the audio wise, and the technology they did for Hellblade 1. Maybe I'll pick this up down the line. And now it's on Game Pass, so I don't have to buy it, so I can just wait and then, play it down the line. So maybe this is like number 4 on my backlist.
Aggressive word plus type of melee weapon followed by a number. There's also Hellblade 2, Senua's Saga. The follow-up to Ninja Theory's 2017 sleeper hit, Senua's Sacrifice, Senua's Saga looks to be raising the bar in every possible way while maintaining its blend of dark fantasy and psychological horror, heavy emphasis on the psychology.
Too many puzzles in it? I mean, people like puzzles, right? A lot of people don't like puzzles, right? One of the reasons I like playing like the Tomb Raider games or the Uncharted games is because they have those little puzzles inside those type of games. So I like that. So if that's what it's like, you're actually kind of selling me on it if it has puzzles, because I like that type of stuff.
That's on Xbox Series and PC, but we do not have a release date quite yet. Also on Xbox Series and PC with no hard
I'm puzzled by puzzles. Touché.
release date is
I have no interest in Stalker 2. I know a lot of people are hyping it up. It doesn't appeal to me. It doesn't look, it looks generic to me. And I know that might offend somebody out there. Be like, how dare you say Stalker's, it just looks generic to me.
Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl, though that does currently have a release window of sometime in the first quarter of 2024. Considering this game's development was put on hold so members of the Ukrainian team could step away from their desks to defend their country from invading Russian forces, I don't think anyone will fault the studio for the long wait or get mad if the release gets delayed further.
Stalker 2's on Game Pass. I still won't play it. It just looks generic to me, Gaming Fire.
It looks like a massively ambitious game, and the original is a modern classic, though maybe not exactly modern anymore. In the time since the last Stalker game's release, the actual Chernobyl exclusion zone has become a tourist destination. From this point forward, the rest of the games in this video do not have a release date or release window at all. It's the Wild West, so to speak. Speaking of which, one of these games is Star Wars Outlaws.
I'm super excited about Star Wars Outlaws. We have another story later on talking about the in-depth of this game. I'm excited, one, because, again, if you guys watch any of my content, I always say, take a game and you put an IP to it that I like, I'm more interested in that game automatically, okay? I think this is going to be a good story. I think I'm not comparing it one-to-one to Rockstar's Red Dead Redemption, but this feels like if they made a Red Dead Redemption in Star Wars, this is what it would be, right? And that's what this looks like to me. It might not be that, but that's what it looks like to me. So my expectations for this game is that I'm looking for a open world game that I could run around, do whatever I want in the Star Wars universe, and just kind of explore and be the smuggler inside the Star Wars universe. I'm not looking for it to be Game of the Year. I'm not looking for it to be like this game that it's not supposed to be. I'm not going to put my expectations like it's supposed to be like Starfield or it's supposed to be like a Mass Effect or anything like that. I'm just intrigued by what the story is going to be as a smuggler and then the world that it's in.
In addition to looking like a space western, it's also wild that it took this long to get a game that could be described as GTA but with speeder bikes and blasters and Jabba the Hutt. From the looks of things, that's what Outlaws is shaping up to be, though to be precise, it's a Ubisoft game, so a more apt comparison might be Watch Dogs with Womp Rats. I am definitely not complaining.
I don't think it's a Watch Dogs, but it could be.
At the prospect of an open-world Star Wars game that focuses on the scum and villainy of a galaxy far, far away. I will, however, complain if Bosk and Dengar and Zuckuss don't show up.
See, I think those people will show up. I mean, smugglers and bounty hunters all kind of go around, and it takes place between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi.
Boba Fett's fine. We get enough of him. And Forlom, I could take it or leave it. IG-88, he's all right, but I really want Bosk and Dengar and Zuckuss in there. Put those weird dudes in this game, please. Supergiant Games has been chugging along for over a decade, regularly.
Hades 2 looks good. I tried Hades 1. Not my cup of tea, but this game looks great.
Putting out colorful, deceptively complex games that have consistently pleased critics and fans alike, and Hades was met with such a unanimously positive reception that you really can't blame them for making a second.
I really like the art style of it. Like, the art style of this game looks fantastic.
Installment, which is supposed to arrive sometime this year. For any Persona fans rolling their eyes at the casual newcomers flocking to Persona 3 Reload,
I have no interest in this game either. This is like another Persona game.
I have just the thing, which you probably already know about, Metaphor Refantasio, a cool sounding name for a brand new RPG in a brand new universe from a ton of the people behind the Shin Megami Tensei / Persona series. If you want a JRPG that doesn't go quite as hard in the paint or the fonts,
Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. This could possibly be in our house. We'll see if my son's interested in this when it comes out.
There's always Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door, which remakes the beloved GameCube RPG for Switch, and which should be a nice follow-up to the Super Mario RPG remake that we got way back in 2023. Vampire: The Masquerade Bloodlines 2 is yet another long-awaited...
I'm not interested in the Vampire. Now, I know the first one a lot of people really liked. Again, a lot of these games just feel generic to me. And that's not a shot. To me, just looking at these, I'm just like, yeah, I'm good.
Sequel that became even more long-awaited after the decision was made to go back to square one in the hands of a new developer. But the good news is that...
Like, if you told me, by just looking at this is like another Redfall, I'd be like, okay. It might not be. I know nothing about this game, to be honest. I'm just saying that it just looks generic.
Developer is the Chinese Room, the studio behind the Amnesia games and Dear Esther.
That's the perfect thing, though, Water. Water says, is this Blade? Like, jokingly. But that's what I'm saying. Like, it just looks generic. Like, you could tell me this was Blade, and I'd be like, cool. Right? Like, you could tell me that. You could tell me this was Vampire Blade, Marvel's Blade Vampire Hunter, and I'd be like, cool. Right? But I'd be more excited about that because I like Marvel. Generic vampire thing, I'm like, yeah, okay.
So this vampire game might be kind of spooky.
The skin of a killer, Bill.
If the phrase Seiken Densetsu means anything to you, you're probably well aware of Visions of Mana, but if you're not, it is the first
Visions of Mana? Not interested in it.
mainline entry in quite some time in Square Enix's beloved Mana action RPG series. They got its start way back a million...
Is the Hell Games new game coming out this year? Hell Game, you're talking about Hellblade, L? Is that what you're talking about? Hellblade 2 is coming out, I think, later this year, if that's what you're talking about.
Years ago as a Final Fantasy spin-off for the original Game Boy. Anyway, it's probably better known as Secret of Mana on the Super Nintendo. Here's the part of the video where I say that I would like to get an HD remake of Secret of Evermore, which was like the weird sort of bastard American cousin of Secret of Mana that was on Super NES. I love that game, one of my favorite games of all time. I'm one of 17 people who feels that way. Thank you for listening. Let's talk about games that are coming out in the future. There's no shortage of big fat fantasy RPGs being cooked up by the fine folks at...
Oh, Hello Games. Oh, Light No Fire? I don't know when that comes out. There's no date on that. Avowed, I'm interested in. I'm not interested in Avowed because it's going to be on Game Pass. I am interested in Avowed because I feel like I'm a fan of Obsidian's games, and I like what they did with Grounded. I like what they did with Outer Worlds. I like what they did with the Fallout with New Vegas, right? So because of those games, I'm going to give Avowed a shot.
At Xbox Game Studios, and Avowed looks like it could make a nice amuse-bouche for anybody who's licking their chops waiting around for Fable Horizon or Skyrim 2, Dragonborn Again, aka Elder Scrolls 6. Anyway, Avowed is set in Obsidian's Pillars of Eternity universe, and it looks like a fun first-person high fantasy jaunt, and based on Obsidian's pedigree, it should have some good twists and turns depending on what kind of bad decisions you make, you know, like a proper RPG. This list is not alphabetical, but Zenless Zone Zero has too many Z's in the title to not put it last. That is the next free-to-play action RPG from the Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail team.
Yeah, I'm not interested in this either.
And this one has a super stylish, quasi-futuristic urban setting that's going to be coming to mobile and PC, and probably console at some point. Speaking of which, Genshin is expected to hit Switch at some point in 2024, and there's a very good possibility that Nintendo might just drop a new console entirely, whether that is a Super Switch, or a Switch U, or something...
I don't have to say I'm not interested in this because I don't play it now.
Totally else entirely, probably with a better name. That'll of course have its own share of new games at launch and thereafter. And like I said, there is a ton of other stuff we didn't cover.
I am interested in the Elden Ring DLC. We don't know much about it. You know, if it comes out this year or not, but it's been 2 years since the last one. We'll see what they do with this.
Ring Shadow of the Erdtree
I would put this on the back burner for me.
DLC is going to be a substantial expansion to an already massive game. There are some rumblings about the next Doom game, possibly a prequel.
I love the old Doom. I never played the new Dooms. When they rebooted it, I never played it.
Of course, long-awaited sequels like Metroid Prime 4 and Dragon Age.
I'm sorry. Metro Prime 4 never came out. Didn't they announce it like 10 years ago at like one of the events?
The Dreadwolf Rises, just to name.
Dragon Age, I was excited until Anthem came out, and then there's been so much turmoil with Dragon Age and developers coming in and leaving the company and rebooting it and forcing them to use the Frostbite engine. There's had so much problems with Dragon Age that I've kind of like pulled back where I'm not interested in Dragon Age at all.
Name a few. but as of recording this in late December 2023, details on all of those are pretty vague, so we can tackle them some other time. On that note, I'm going to shut up so my wonderful video editor Chris Del Padre can put the finishing touches on this video, and our wonderful producer Amanda Medina can publish it, and we can all shut down our computers for the holidays and go be with our loved ones. I mean, right after I tell you to sound off in the comments with the games that you're most excited about in 2024, especially if I forgot to mention them. Tell us why you're looking forward to them. Explain why.
Is there games that he didn't mention that you guys are excited about? I don't know if there is. Right, I don't know if there was games that he didn't mention that I'm missing. I mean, obviously, Transformers Reactivate's not officially coming out this year. I'm excited for it. The beta is supposed to happen this year, I think. So I'm excited about that if I can get in. But other than that, I don't know. Is there another game that I'm like super excited about that they didn't mention? It also says Silent Hill 2. Metal Demons Gore sign. Metal Demons. Is that what it's called? Metal Demons Gore sign? Oh, sign that dude up. Metal Demons Gore. Sign that dude up. Gotcha. I'm excited for Grand Theft Auto 5 for the 5th time for the Switch. He didn't mention Stellar Blade for me. Stellar Blade. Let me see what that one is. Stellar Blade.
How's it going, everyone?
Let me see. Stellar Blade. It says delayed. Here's the trailer. Is there gameplay in this trailer? Or is it just all cinematic? Blade, yes, but 2024. The bosses look pretty cool. This looks interesting. Is this a PlayStation exclusive, Rose? Now, I know nothing about this. Is this like a Dark Souls type of game, or is this more like a Final Fantasy type of game? Like what type of... Next level. Plus you can get it stare at her booty. Well, her booty does look like Bunny's booty from the first Descendants, I'll tell you that. They give that like that leather, or not leather, the balloon material. Skin tight. Stellar Blade. I like how it says 2023. Maybe not. Maybe not. Is there gameplay? Let me see. Stellar Blade 4K gameplay trailer. Okay, here's a gameplay trailer. What is that monster? My God. What does he even see? He's like a chainsaw? I mean, you could tell me this was the first Descendant, and I'd be like, okay. Looks like cool movements. Oh my God. She's dead. She'd be dead, but just blood would be shooting. You know, I kind of wish... I would love to see somebody make a game where when your guy gets injured, like you're literally like bleeding out and like you have to repair yourself. You know what I mean? Like you know what I'm talking about? We don't ever get injured. We just die, right? Like you just get injured and you're done. You don't actually have like battle. Remember when in Batman Arkham with Rocksteady, when Batman got his like outfit would get torn and stuff, so you look like you were just getting beaten, brutally beaten throughout the progression of the game? That's what I would like to see. Because at that point, right? At that point, if they put that mechanic in the game, I feel like you would play differently, right? Because yeah, you have a health bar meter, but at the end of the thing, you just like you heal up and that's it. Like you should be able to like you're really badly damaged. I don't know. In space, how's she breathing? Breathing. Wait, I'm sorry. Did I miss something? How did we go from? Oh, it changed fights. Okay, I was like, how did we go from from the ground to space? It's a different. Does her? Come on, you gonna breathe? Something gonna come up? Oh, another monster? Oh my! Look at that. How's she breathing? This looks good, Rose. This looks interesting. Man, they know how to do games over there, man. Just visually stunning. And they make their main protagonists good looking. Right? They make him good looking. Come on, Ron. All right, let's see what else we got here. Any other games that you guys they didn't mention on the list? This is what Skull and Bones should have done. Be all about the booty, which is any pirate is as important. Yeah, they just Skull and Booty. That's what it should have been called instead of Skull and Bones. Barry says Stalker's anything but generic, and if you play the original release, this is gripping. You're haunting, immersive, anything but generic. Nothing like out there. What I'm saying though, Barry, I didn't play it. I said I didn't play it. I said looking at it, it looks generic, right? That's all I said, right? It doesn't do for as me as a customer looking at Stalker. Okay, Stalker 1 didn't sell me. Stalker 2 doesn't sell me. It's not putting down the game. It's just not appealing to me. Hence why they make trailers. Hence why they do advertisement and marketing, okay, to find the people that it likes. It doesn't look interesting to me at all. Stalker looks very just... I'll never understand the draw of Souls-like gameplay. Let's stand in front of a giant boss for an hour, and I'll trade blows, and hopefully a miracle of animation I can hit it more than it hit. Yeah, I mean, well, you got to remember, the Dark Souls has a big following, but it's really tiny in the bigger picture, right? All of a sudden, when they did Elden Ring, that player base, like, expanded dramatically. Like, more games sold for Elden Ring than all of their games combined. But I get what you're saying, Farmer. The Souls-like things never really appealed to me. Yeah, Stalker has always had an overwhelming positive reception on PC. The gameplay in Stalker is very generic. They have stuff like it out there in Metro and Fear. That's funny that you say that, Rose. That's the way, like, Metro, nothing against Metro, okay? It didn't appeal to me, right? Fear, the same thing. Didn't appeal to me. That's just not my type of game. So for me to say it's generic, it's not an insult to someone that likes the game. It's just not a game for me. Hence, people like fantasy, people like horror, people like, sci-fi. I mean, someone can look at a game that I like and say it looks generic. That's fair. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, I like the trucking games, right? I like American Truck Simulator, Euro Truck Simulator, Snow Runners. I like those types of games, but I know 100% that the people that look at that and go, this game looks boring as hell, I'd be like, it's not, but I totally get it. I like Farm Sim too. I like those sim types of games. But I know if someone's like, that game looks boring as fuck, I'd be like, well, I like survival games. I know those are very boring for people, but I love it. Right? This is why I like Lord of the Rings. I like Valheim. I like Lego Fortnite. I like Minecraft. I like those types of games. Looking generic is different than playing generic. You don't look at games, you play them. Well, first you look, right? First you look, and if it sells you, then you buy. And then when you buy, you play. But if I never get to the play state, then it just looks generic. Let's see. RoboQuest has ruined my life thanks to you, 30. You're welcome. Are you liking it? Are you liking the game? I thought it was good. Pressure Washer, yeah. I like those types of games. You said you like survival games? Yeah, I play a lot of survival games. I had to stop playing Once Human because the beta ends on the 21st. Didn't want to waste my time in the game only to have everything erased and then the real game drops. Do we know when the real game drops? Do they have an announcement for the real game? How do you play without looking? Are you Daredevil? I just sense it. Stalker's a survival game? Yeah, but Barry, you're trying to sell me on a game that I have no interest in. You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't like the way Stalker looks. It looks generic to me. I don't like it. You don't have to sell me on it, because I'm never going to get it. I'm not ever going to try it. You're judging a book by its cover? Yes, 100%. Just like I look at every cover from the Atari 2600 and look at the artwork on the thing, go, that game looks badass, I'm going to buy it. Then I turn it over and look at the back of the box. I take the cover of what it looked like, and then I look at the actual graphics in the back, and I didn't care about the graphics. I go, the imagination of what that art cover looked like, and then what the back of the box looks like, sold. When I go to a movie and see a badass movie poster and didn't see anything about the movie itself, I go, that movie looks badass. It's intriguing. I like the actor on it. Whatever it is, my eyes tell me if I like a game or I don't like a game. If I like a movie, if I don't like a movie. 30, Stalker 2 or Cyberpunk 2077? Cyberpunk 2077. It looks much more interesting to me, but I won't play Cyberpunk 2077 because of what the company did in general about the launch of Cyberpunk 2077. Again, I have no problem with Cyberpunk 2077. I have a problem with CD Projekt Red. Not true. You won't play Cyberpunk because of your backlog. No. I like the first Stalker, so I hope the second one is good. All I can do is hope. Sure. I mean, I'm not saying don't get Stalker in any way, shape, or form. I'm saying I don't want to play Stalker because it looks generic. I just checked. This is the last day of the sale. Hey, chat, if you're looking for some things to play cheap, go check out Microsoft Store. This is the last day of sale. Lots of games, half off or more. I wonder if they have... It shows it up. Excuse me. Here, I'll bring up some of the. You got sale for Modern Warfare 3, Starfield, 30% off, 60% off for FIFA, 50% off for NBA 2K, Mortal Kombat's 40% off, Assassin's Creed Mirage, 30% off. Isn't Assassin's Creed Mirage, isn't that the game that just came out? Hogwarts, $34.99. Alan Wake, $47.99, 20% off. Dead Island, 40% off. UFC 5, 40%. Stray, 25%. I might pick that up. Put that in my backlog. Redfall, 75% off, $17. Still too much. Still too much. Cyberpunk, 33% off. You get the Ultimate Edition, which is all the whole thing. Diablo's 41, Ghost Runner, $27.99. Payday, 25% off. I still wouldn't pay for that. And it's on Game Pass, so why pay for it? I mean, Bee Simulator is $2. Bee Simulator. RoboCop, 30% off. Anyone interested in RoboCop, that's worth it. Worth it. Red Dead. Red Dead's worth it. That's $60. It's down to $19.79. 67% off. That's a great game. I saw Midnight Suns literally for $8 and I said no. Right now it's 70% off at $20. I'm like, Oof. You never like to see a game that just came out just a couple of months ago. Immortals of Avium, 60% off. The deluxe edition is $31.99 right now. Jesus, Gotham Knights 80% off. The $90 version is down to $17.99. Oh yeah, the Lego Star Wars. This one, the Skywalker Saga, totally worth it. $80 normal price, $23.99. It's totally worth it. If you guys are interested in a Lego Star Wars game, I would recommend that. We played it and finished it on stream. Is this the remake, Dead Space? 60% off? That's the one that just came out this year, right? That's a game I have to play. Guardians of the Galaxy? I still haven't played that. Haven't played it. Own it. Got it for $7, I think. $7 or $8. And I never played it. Goat Sim I played with my son over Christmas break. It's Grand Theft Auto with goats. It's interesting. Not my type of game, but it's interesting. We played this game. Me and Sarge played this game years ago. The Way Out. It's a pretty good game. Pretty good game. What else we got here? Dark Descent. Fireteam Elite. Oh man, I remember the Ancestor one. $10. Anthem. Legion of Dawn Edition, $1.49, 95% off. They can't give it away. They can't give the freaking thing away. 95% off. My goodness. At that point, EA, just put it on something, like, just hand it out. What else we got here? Atlas Fallen. That's one of those other games that came out earlier this year. Didn't do very good. Same with Atomic Heart. I mean, obviously, that's on Game Pass. Arkham, the Premium Edition, 85% off. Is that all three? Or is what is this one? Is this all of them? Premium Edition. The collection here is all three games. I mean, I own them all already, but is it all three games for $10? $9? Yeah, all three games. That's an awesome deal right there. The Arkham Collection, that's all the games. That's a good one. There it is, the Beast Simulator. $1.99. Black Desert. Borderlands? I don't give a shit about Borderlands 3, I'll be honest. Legendary Collection, that's worth it. All right. Well, some good games out there. All right. Let me bring up the next thing. Arkham Knight still runs poorly on the SX and the PlayStation 5. Really? I haven't played it, so. Tarantino was okay. Yeah, I enjoyed it. All right, we're gonna go over the Star Wars Outlaws. So an article came out from Kotaku a couple of days ago. Was it a couple days ago? Yeah, a couple days ago. December 26th. They had an article come out. And it goes into depth about what the game. It's kind of weird to me, though, because, like, we watched the in-depth interview back in June with the director, and he talked about, like, what he was doing. So we're going to go over this, and it's got a couple of different... I watched the video on it, but we're going to go over the article. So it's got some things in there that we didn't hear about before. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of 30 NSG. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about Star Wars Outlaws could finally be the scoundrel sim you've been dreaming of. This article comes from Kotaku. All the links are down below. So, when it comes to letting the embrace the murky side of the most Isley Star Wars games, don't have the best track record, where 2018's Battlefront 2 promised to place you at the heart of the Imperial focus story, and it took all of our 4 missions of protagonists to basically become a rebel, right? Now, as Disney delivers the increasingly vision of Galaxy Far, Far Away and/or aside, Ubisoft is submerging players in the depths of the Outer Rim, speedy into Star Wars Outlaws. Now, announced in 2021, this slice of Star Wars hoping space opera sidelines righteous Jedi and scoundrel Sith in favor of less preachy protagonists, shifting the focus away from the well-trod Imperial of the Rebel conflict. Now, Outlaws zooms in on Star Wars criminal underworld, placing you as the dusty boots, hardened outlaw, Kay Vess. Now, someone's less concerned with the fate of the galaxy and more about her next payday. It says, quote, "We also knew we wanted to create an original scoundrel story." Narrative director David Navid, director Navid said, "There was something exciting about looking at the universe from the perspective of a scoundrel like Kay, who has no experience with the Empire, Jedi Rebellion, or Sith." Now, I think a lot of people look at this and go, "Well, this is just Han Solo," and sure, it could be Han Solo. But I think the problem, if you make a game based on Han Solo, you have these like things already set up, and if you use Han Solo, then you would want to see the other characters in the world. And I think they made a good choice by making just another scoundrel. And I said this on Lono's podcast when he asked me about this. I don't think her being like a Han Solo character is like, well, they're just copying Han Solo. I think in the era, right, which is the Star Wars era, during this time frame after Empire Strikes Back, in between Return of the Jedi, there's a lot of smugglers, there's a lot of scoundrels, and they all look the part, right? Like, you know, a bounty hunter dresses a certain way, a Jedi dresses a certain way, right? Certain people dress a certain way. You see it in our own world today. Like, when you see a hipster, you look, that's a hipster. When you see a nerd, you're like, that's a nerd, right? A lot of people just conform to what that style is, and that's what it is. So I don't think it's Han Solo and she's copying him, okay? It says, as Kay attempts the biggest heist in Galaxy has ever seen, Outlaws promise a rogue gallery, and the meanest criminals have ever frequent the cantina. It's a certain flavor of the weird Star Wars fiction the video games rarely explore. Now, the first trailer claiming that the fears that Kay may secretly be a do-gooder, Girl Scout, former for screwing over a snarly in the game of Sabak, incurring the wrath of the Empire by refusing to bribe an officer. It's not just a filmatic post-process effect that leads to Ubisoft's depiction of Star Wars welcoming a shade of gray. It says, quote, "This is a character who's just trying to get by, stealing, outwitting, and killing folks. It is also, I would love to folks playing the game really get a sense of what it might feel like to step into the underworld." It says, still, this isn't the first game trailer that the hard gamers all hot and bothered about the playing as a scoundrel. Outlaws feel strangely reminiscent of a playable character of Star Wars fantasy and got away with Star Wars 1313. Now, originally announced in 2013, LucasArts Bounty Hunter outing explored the diggy depths of Coruscant before being canceled following Disney's purchase of Star Wars. Naturally, Greedo-loving gamers would have to be pinging up for the Lost Project ever since. Now, Outlaws looks like a carryover the rough and ready firefights of the ill-fated E3 demo, suggesting that the Massive is using the experience of the Division to deliver the moral murky of Rogue One-esque take on Star Wars. As Kay sneaks and shoots her way across the contraband stuffed hangar, the Hollywood grain coats the screen with a scrappy hero sprinting, swinging, and eventually speeder biking her way across the ominous, dusty landscapes. It's refreshing and represents a glimpse of Star Wars: The World away from glistening white fighters. Man, I can't read today. From the glistening white fighters corridors, and also often defined it. It says, so what is the reason for all the betrayals and corruptions of villainy clogging up the digital atmosphere Outlaws that he set? It says, quote, "Outlaws follows the Battle of Hoth at the time when the Empire is ruling the galaxy with an iron fist," said Norwauer. Working closely with the Lucasfilms to find the setting and explain the two companies eventually settled in the time period, most riff of intergalactic dirtbaggery for a year between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. He says, quote, "The rebels are on the back foot, while everyone is caught up on somewhat distracted by the ongoing civil unrest. There's a vacuum of creates the perfect opportunity for Underworld rise and gain power over the slightly imperial rule," he added. Now, It says a galaxy of possibilities. For all of its 1313 aspirations, Outlaws chronologically aligns more closely with the janky N64 gem Shadows of the Empire. Great game. Right? Still, Ubisoft 2024 single-player adventure doesn't exist in a vacuum. Respawn Jedi Order and Jedi Survivor have raised the bar for Star Wars games, yet Ubisoft Massive leaning into an experience in order to create a new kind of story, intergalactic open-world genre. It says, quote, focusing on open-world game aspect allowed us to build a deeply immersive Star Wars journey. He says he wanted to create a scoundrel who has never experienced anything like this before. She hasn't figured it all out yet and doesn't have the right answers all the time. I hope players will see that a bit of themselves in Kay. Now, without the Jedi ability to rally on Kay, needs loyal companions to get her out of the tough scraps throughout the adventure. You'll also be accompanied by a four-legged alien cutie, Nyx, and a chanty trench-coated camo of droid ND5. Yet try as it might to focus on Star Wars' playable future, the heist-focused nature can't help but conjure up memories of a long-lost Star Wars game, the Jay Raymond and Amy Hennig's helm project Ragtag, which is also produced by the Uncharted heist adventure. I think it's interesting if they do the heist type of stuff. I kind of want them to do what they did in Grand Theft Auto 5 when you're playing online, right? You would have, it didn't work out as well as but it was still cool, where you would have to do the heist and get certain info and then do it. And when you did the heist mission, if it didn't work out, you would do it again and then try different ways and whatnot. I think it'd be interesting to do quests. And again, I don't know if this is the way the game is going to be, but I think it'd be interesting if you did certain quests and you as a player, let's say the people that just don't really care, they just kind of rush through it, they would have less information to do the heist. They could still do the heist, but it might be a lot harder for them. Or if you're a person that likes the intricate parts of stuff, you could do more quests, side quests, to get the information to help you do the main quest of the heist to make it a little bit easier. You know what I'm saying? Like, give a reason to talk to the NPCs to get information. And if you, the player, get that information, then your heist would be easier to do. Again, I don't know if it's doing it that way, but it'll be interesting to see what they do with these heists. It says, the question is, what can players expect from Outlaw's core gameplay loop? He explains that it will be split into 3 different types of experiences. He says, quote, the first of these is a dense city bustling and activities of lively cantinas where you might find criminal syndicates and corrupt Imperials mingling together. Second, there's our vast, mysterious, stunning open-world environments, whether either on foot or speeder, it finally space which players can explore on Kay's ship. He also goes on to say that the freedom to travel the universe as you see fit is essential for delivering a true Star Wars Outlaw experience. Now, when they first showed this in the summertime, I said that I'm more excited about this than I was Starfield, okay, because of the Star Wars IP. And then, obviously, I already know that you're not going to be able to fly from the ground like yourself. It's a cutscene that goes into space, which is a load screen. And then once you get to space, you can fly and go around. Now, I wonder if we'll keep the same kind of power or energy level where in Starfield, you don't lift off from the ground like No Man's Sky and go into space and then fly into space into the next planet. And I don't think you're going to be able to do that here either. Now, you go to space, which will be a separate world, I'm assuming. Again, I don't know. And I don't know if you can go from like Tatooine to the next planet and then land on the next planet with a cutscene, or if you would just fight in that space area in a large open world space and then travel to the next planet and then land and do it. I don't know. But if it does the exact same thing as Starfield, I just want the same type of energy of people giving one game shit and not giving the next game shit. Okay? It says, from hopping into the battered ships of Trailblazers, steering through the atmosphere, transitions between boots and grounds exploration, and gravity-defying dogfights look refreshingly smooth, almost like what many players hope for Bethesda's Starfield. Oh, look at that. As well as traveling as well-trowed sands of Tatooine, the humanoid jingles of the treacherous mountains. Okay, Ubisoft Massive has created its own bespoken hive of scum and villainy, and also wide-swept moon. Okay, he says, we want to allow the fans to indulge in some intergalactic tourism. Okay, but also really excited for them to experience the characters and planets in the iconic era as well. He goes on to say that, quote, space represents, not representation. Good. Space represents a super lucrative yet risky experience for any outlaw. If you go off in the beaten path, your willingness to explore will bring surprises as well. I like that. So as you travel, if you explore, you might find other things. That's interesting. Okay. So you can also go from taking a contract and steal the Imperial shipment, but then get distracted on your speeder to head off into the savannah in the search of artifact, and the game will reward your curiosity. Arguably, the most intriguing aspect of Outlaws, however, is how fledgling outlaw K interacts with the criminal underworld. They say, quote, players can also quest with each of the syndicates to manage K's reputation. Well, that's cool. So it's like a faction system, which also impedes the jobs that offers the impact, and they also have throughout the story. Each player will have a different profile with each of the syndicates based on how they interact with them over the course of their journey. That's cool. That's interesting. Now, KVS is also all too happy to pit their wearing syndicates against each other, with the players taking a quest from the likes of Jabba the Hutt. And the question is, will they become another Jabba's reliable foot soldier or screw him over for a fistful of credits? Now, I like that. I like that they're bringing in other characters, the nostalgia kind of baiting type of things, where if you go to Tatooine, you're going to see Jabba the Hutt. You'd be like, oh, cool, I get to go to his palace and whatnot. See little things. You'll probably see Boba Fett. You'll probably see other bounty hunters out there. But I like that you could be a person that just works for Jabba, or you could screw over Jabba. I think that's pretty cool. He says, it hints that Jabba won't be the only recognizable face here. We can't wait for players to explore the world of Outlaws and discover any reference to the wider Star Wars galaxies for themselves, he said. Here we're hoping that Ubisoft's Massive can redeem Boba Fett's after the god-awful Disney Plus show. Preach there. Okay. Based on what we've seen so far, Outlaws boasted some incredible striking visuals, freed from prior generation shackles, and what we saw in the gameplay walkthrough shows the announcement of real-time in-game engine footage, and confident that will deliver a quality level that the players can expect. Now, with the last decade bringing about more canceled projects than more than shake of pork, it's hard to suppress that Outlaws from the murky specter of Star Wars gaming past. Now, totally, even the gameplay-wise, the seedy underworld of 1313 and the heist-driven open exploration of Ragtag looming large over Outlaws. Yet with those projects long resigned, the Sarlacc pit history, Outlaws have been a chance to channel their spirit and deliver a roguish romp fans have been long pinning for. I think the expectations, and let me bring up the actual gameplay footage as I talk about this. I think a lot of people are looking for a game that is like open world, like a Red Dead Redemption, right? This is 6 months ago. Yeah, this is like 2 minutes and 13 seconds. So I'm interested in what you could do in this game. I'm interested that there is factions that you can manipulate or go towards, sort of like a Fallout. If you go with the Brotherhood or don't go with the Brotherhood. I wonder if it changes each time, or if you can be with multiple factions at the same time. Obviously we see Jabba there. It looked like Guido there. It looks like a lot of people you'll see throughout the games, right? You got the Cantina. And again, I give them really good credit for placing it in that 80s time frame. I know it's in the future in a galaxy far, far away, but they really make this game look like it fits in between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi within the 80s when those movies came out. Okay, now this is the gameplay trailer, or not gameplay trailer. This is just the cinematic trailer. We'll look at the gameplay in just a second. Ubisoft does constantly make good games, not amazing, but good. Certainly, they make better games than Souls garbage. I like Massive. I think Massive makes one of the better games than most studios out there. I mean, Division and Division 2 are very good games. Like, I do like the style of this. And you can see like 5-6 different planets that you actually go to. That looks like, what's his name from Josh Gamal. I don't think it is, but it looks like him. And I don't think this character looks like super hot. I think she looks like that girl next door type of thing, Now, when I look at a scene like this, they say it's open world, so meaning I could go all the way to the right or all the way to the left. I wonder how big the actual maps are, right? Are we getting a No Man's Sky type planet, or are we getting a Skyrim type map where it's just really big, and when you land on Tatooine, it's this giant map where it's super huge? Or is there going to be the boundaries like we have with the mountains that you can't get past and whatnot? Yeah, 0 tiles. See, like, I think like you could go everywhere. They say you could go everywhere, but you see these mountains in the far distance. You know, that's the boundary, right? That's the boundary. Now, as far as when we go to the gameplay trailer, let me bring up the gameplay trailer. When you see the takeoff, Outlaws game, this is like 15 minutes long, isn't it? 10 minutes. Yeah. Okay, so when we're down over here, we're like, oh, there's no cutscenes, but this is a cutscene, right? This is a load screen, I should say, not cutscene, a load screen. When she takes off from here, that's a load screen, just like Starfield, okay? That you see your ship take off and then go into space. Now, right here, you're cut through the actual clouds, okay? You're not controlling this right now. And then, boom, you come out, right? Because you're not flying all over the place. Yes, it has the markers on the thing, but I'm assuming this is a cutscene. Okay, and then once it comes here, then you take over. As soon as this Tashi orbit solar system comes in, then you can take over. Okay, now, is it different than what Starfield did? Yes, right? It's almost doing a mid type of thing. Again, just looking at this footage, it's kind of a hybrid of what Starfield did with No Man's Sky, right? Because it's like a cutscene in the beginning, and then it shoots through the sky, makes you feel like you've taken off. You get out to the space, and then it kicks in, and then you can start taking control, right? And you can see the camera kind of kicks back. Now your sensors and stuff come up on the screen, and then you're actually playing through the thing, right? Again, let's watch that again, right? Because this is definitely a cutscene. You're not going to, right? You get in, she gets behind the thing. This is a cutscene. It takes off, flies off, and then right here, it puts the markers on, but you're not in control, but it makes you feel like you're in control. Because right now, can she turn and stay in orbit and fly all over the map? Or is this that you're stuck here and it flies directly out into orbit? Right? And I know we don't know, and we're speculating here. This is way better than Starfield. It's still a load screen, is what I'm saying, L. It's still a load screen. Right? You still can't do anything at this point. What No Man's Sky does when you're doing light speed, okay, is still a load screen. It's a different way, and it is much better. I'm not going to disagree with you. It is much better. You're still in a load screen here. Okay. Then once it kicks in, like you see the thing come up, then all of a sudden it makes you move, and then boom, it pops up, and there's your HUD. Now, I think this looks great. I think this looks fantastic. Okay, this looks like Starfighter Assault in Battlefront 2. I mean, this looks great. Now, I'm excited, and I said this when we first saw it. I said, I'm more excited about this than I'm excited about Starfield. This is before we knew what Starfield was. Right? This is back in June when they first showed this. Yeah, this looks great. Right? Again, this is another load screen. This is just like No Man's Sky when you're doing the hyperspace. And then it comes out, and then you're in the next system. Right? And I think, obviously, that's how it's going to work. I don't think you're going to be able to fly from you're not going to be able to fly from here to the next planet. I think you're going to have to hyperspace. I think each planet's going to be in their own thing. So you're going to be able to leave the planet, and then there's going to be an open space around the planet, right? There's still going to be invisible walls or whatnot, and you're going to be able, you can't just fly out into space and just keep flying, right? It's going to be handcrafted, 4 or 5 planets. Each planet's going to have its own surrounding space around the planet, and then you can go to the planet, and then you can also go to the space. Can you also drive your ship on the planet? I don't know. They've never showed that. We don't know that, El. Right? We do know you can get on your bike. Now, I don't think they would give you a bike if you could take your ship and fly around the planet, because I don't think it's a full planet. I think it's going to be a handcrafted, let's just say it's about the size of Division, right? A Division map where it's like wide open and you can go wherever you want. And you're not going to be able to fly around because you'll get around the map too fast. So that's why they give you a bike that you could take from your ship and then also drive around. Again, this is all speculation. They haven't really shown what that is. But I don't think that you can get this. I don't think they would give you this if you could just take your ship and fly around. Because then no one would ever use this. You would just fly, land, and then explore, get back on your ship, and then go somewhere else. Right? But I look at this as like riding a horse in Red Dead Redemption. Right? Now, I would like them in this to go off the beaten path. Because right now it looks very rail-like. Okay? But they said you could go anywhere. You could literally go off to the left or the right. But they're just staying on the road. And the way they're controlling it, it seems very, you know, on the rails. But I know it's not. They said it's not. But it is cool that you can drive towards the city like you do in a Red Dead Redemption or any kind of other open world game. Reese says, why was that way better than Starfield? I think why it was way better, Reese, is because just in our brains is it doesn't break the immersion by putting a black screen and a load screen. Even though it's a load screen, visually it looks better because it never breaks your attention span from getting in your ship, going from the planet, and going into space. That's it. Now, obviously, I don't think that's her bike, because if it was her bike, then she would put it on her ship, wouldn't she? Because when she runs out of here, she doesn't run to her bike. She literally runs to her when she starts to get out of here. So I think you could just, I don't know if you're just stealing people's bikes and doing whatever. Right? So is her bike still there? Her bike is not even there anymore. Yeah, her bike's not even there anymore because she parked it right there. And it's not there anymore. So I guess someone else stole it. Then she's running to the ship. Now, see, I said something when they first showed this. I was like, I wonder if she stays there, because you see the Imperial ship landing in the background. As a choice as a player, I know they got on the ship, but can I stay there? Or is this a preemptive thing, right? This is like a pre-scripted thing. Or can I stand there and wait for them to get off that ship and then start fighting? And then what happens dynamically with the city, within the city, right? Do they send other Imperial ships down? Because you're trying to escape. Now, I'm assuming this is a mission, so they're forcing you. Come on, hurry up. And you get into the actual ship. Right? But this seems very cool. And again, I think, so let's look at the thing up here. You see the Y button up on top. Y, sit down. And then up here it says open map. Okay? So then you would click on the open map. And then I'm assuming they cut it there. It's a cutscene. You get in. They already picked the location. And this is why it's a cutscene that takes off from here and then goes up and then seamlessly makes it feel like you're flying out. Now, maybe you have control here. Maybe you do. And if you do, then I could turn around and then go blow up the Imperial shuttle that just landed because I could blow it up out of the sky now. That'd be cool. Don't know if you could do it, but that would be cool if you could. Right? But this is why you're going through the clouds. It's a load screen, and you can definitely see when your HUD pops up on the screen and you're ready to take control. Okay? Right? You 100%, again, it's like a good 10, 15 seconds, whatever it is. Then you're there. Guys come in from the left or right side of the screen, and then boom, your HUD pops up, and you can take control. And again, I don't think this is a wide open space where you can just fly like in No Man's Sky, right? Even No Man's Sky, you're stuck in that system, and then you travel to the next system. You have to hyperspace, right? So I don't know if there's other planets that you can land on within this area. I don't know if you can land on any of these stations or aboard another ship. We don't know any of that, but we'll see. Okay, here I'll let it play from the beginning over here as we talk. So look, I'm excited. I'm excited about this, but again, my expectations are this is not the latest, greatest open world game that you can do anything you want in it. I think there's going to be limitations. I think there's going to be the limitations of where you're not flying throughout the whole entire solar system inside of Star Wars. You're hyperspacing from planet system to system. That there is going to be a wide open area for you to travel and go to wherever you want, but it's not going to be a complete another planet. Maybe I'm wrong, but just game-wise, an entire planet, even if No Man's Sky did that, which they're doing with No Light, No Fire, or Light, No Fire, no light, Light, No Fire, to go around one planet, that would take you a really, really long time. And when they're crafting a story and whatnot, there's no way you're going around the entire planet of Tatooine. No way. There might be a map of a nice, 4 square miles, 5 square miles of you to get around, like a Grand Theft Auto map, Rocksteady map of type, or Skyrim type map, but there's no way you're going around the entire planet and 5 planets. Your HUD immediately pops up like you can move. No, right here, they're not moving there. I believe that this movement right here is just happening until right here. Right? You can see it right there as it pops up. Right? So it's the system. The game's loading in right now. Things come into the side, and right there, as soon as it pops, you can move, and then pops up your HUD. You have no control of that beforehand. At least that's what I'm getting from the actual footage. Got to make you squeeze through some boxes to hide the load screens during takeoff. That's exactly right. The load screen in God of War where he squeezes through the thing is the clouds. That's exactly right. Which is fine, right? If instead of going through the rock and then doing a cutscene and he cuts through, they make it feel like you're staying within the game. Right? I think the gameplay of the this feels like Starfighter Assault to me. Just the way he's moving. Maybe a little bit more arcadey, because you can see like when he does this little move here, the little evasive maneuver right there. That was in the first Starfighter Assault in Battlefront 1. Was it Battlefront 1? I forget what it was. We did the little maneuver, right? And now you're warping to the other planet. Now you're warping to another location. Let me see what you guys are saying. I have concerns about the performance. This is certainly sitting at the 30 frames per second range. Lots of stuttering as well, but hopefully isn't the final build. Unfortunately, even if it is the final build, that's what it is, right? I think, again, the theme for 2024 is expectations. I think the expectations for a lot of things, because certain games hit 60 frames per second, that we assume or expect other games to hit. Now, again, I don't know if it's going to hit 60 frames per second, but that's the thing, right? If they can't get it to hit 60 frames, then it is 30. I don't think it makes the game worse. Now, I do understand people don't like it and that they won't play it then. That's just the way it is. But again, I don't think all games have to hit the 60 frames per second. But that's just me. Let's see. It's because a bunch of idiots complain about the load screens in other games. Ship combat, rather. I mean, the difference to me, it'll be every 5 seconds or just to travel. I'm fine with it. On travel. Right, but do that 100 times, right? People will be like, oh, load screens. I wish I could just get past this, right? You're never going to make everyone happy. You're never going to make anyone happy or everyone happy. It's not entirely expectations. We have new gen systems that told you do not have new gen features. Where are the games with these features? Again, the people that make the boxes and the people that make the games are two different people, though, Sarge. The people, because the person that makes the box says it can do 60 frames per second, and then the developers that are making the games that have nothing to do with the first party titles of Sony and with Xbox or Microsoft, they don't have to hit the 60 frames. If they can, the box can handle it. But the company, if they can't do it, if they choose not to do it, that's on them. I can't hold a company that's not part of the company that said that these next gens are up to 120 frames per second, 60 frames per second, and then expect everybody else to do that. The biggest question is, can we do the Kessel run in 12 parsecs? Maybe. They definitely will mention it. Water. That's like a good Easter egg, right? Who cares? A good game at 30 is still better than a shit game at 60. True. These are tons of games that have been upgraded to 60 frames. Sure. But what I'm saying is, you guys are stating, Sarge is stating that these companies told us that these are next-gen systems and that the games will be running at this, but the companies are separate than what the manufacturer of the video game systems made, right? All I see is Disney is another trip to the Panderstone. Okay, you're very skewed though, Farmer. Like, you're very skewed. You've been bit, and now you hate all animals. You're going into every game being shit and broke, right? And I totally get it, because a lot of games come out that are broke, buggy, and unfinished. But there are games that come out that are not broke, buggy, and unfinished. But because there's a AAA standard, and a lot of the AAA games that come out have problems, you assume that all games have problems. I could have told people that most of these games would be hard hit to get 60 frames, especially on that level of AMD hardware. When a game does reach 60 frames, it's actually a miracle. I hope to give a Star Wars soundtrack feel. There's no other music. Yeah, I think in this they actually do it, and that's why I'm not playing the music, because I don't want to get copyright striked. I mean, I can literally pop up a list, Sarge, of all games that are on the Xbox right now that are running 60 frames per second, right? And then the next conversation is, well, I'm not interested in any of those games. I want these other games to be it, right? But there's literally over like 300 games that are running 60 frames per second or higher. I think there's like 40 games that are running at 120 frames per second. If I cared about frames per second, which I do, I'd be on PC by now, which I am. If consoles 30 frames is a preference, then I'm not judging. I just think about what Sarge said, that these game companies promised us, higher frame rates, that the games could do it. Again, that's on the consoles, not the people making the games. They're like, oh, cool. If we want to make a game and make it 60 frames per second, the new consoles can handle it. But they can't get it to handle, because they would rather have fidelity of the game looking good than running at 60 frames per second. Exactly, Kyle. Like, if you want higher frame rates, then purchase a PC. You'll have that on everything that you play, right? Again, there's a difference between the manufacturer saying that what it can handle and the people that are not associated with those companies making a game for those consoles. Yeah, this is coming to PC as well, right? If so, then PC for me. Yeah, I believe it's coming for PC, PlayStation 5, Xbox. It's across the board. I don't think it's on the Switch, though. I would like to look. Let me see. Let me see if I can bring up. Let me see if I can bring up. Here. Here's oh, that's not it. Right. Here's a list, right? I'm bringing up the Xbox One because Sarge is on Xbox, right? Here's a game, or here's a list of games that are all 60 frames, 120 frames per second, 60 frames per second, all that play on the Xbox right now, right? Right? You could play all these games right now at 60 to 120 frames per second. Now the next conversation is, well, I don't like any of these games, and none of these games are new. Right? All these things. Right? You can play Star Wars Battlefront 2 at 120 frames per second on the Xbox Series XS. Right? So, look, Tom Clancy's Division, 60 frames, right? All of these games are hitting those metrics that they said could. So I don't understand when they lie to us, right? First party games are different than third party games. The third parties are not guaranteed to hit the 60 frames per second because of what the standards that Microsoft and PlayStation decided to make. Now, down the road, could they add a 60 frames or 120 frames per second if it doesn't do it at launch? Yes, they can. Been a very recent problem with bad PC ports. Generally, PC has always the most stable and less bug-ridden builds from my experience. Barry says Bright Memory Infinite runs at 120 frames per second, and it's terrible. Starfield should have had a performance of 60 mode. Now, I'll agree with the first-party stuff. The first-party stuff I have no defense for. If the company has the games and they made a first party, maybe you could say because they came in 2 years after and it wasn't recommended, right? It wasn't enforced, okay? Because Bethesda was making the game before Xbox bought them, so maybe that's an excuse there. But if it's a first-party title, PlayStation, Xbox, and they make this box, then all their games that come out for that system on the first-party titles should 100% be 60 frames per second because that's what Microsoft and Sony said their games would hit. Third-party games, in my eyes, do not have to hit that because of what they said they could hit on that box. Especially if a game runs poorly on PC, it usually bodes the same for console. There's plenty examples of that, especially if there's a poor preference on high-end systems. Kylo says, if an Ubisoft game is performance, probably won't optimize unless you have a 4080 or better. I don't see a game hitting 4K 120, maybe 440. So what's the max frames they are toting Star Wars Outlaws? We don't know. They haven't said anything about that, Water. Digit says 1440 is far easier to run on average hardware. Frames per second has a very little impact to how good a game is. Quintar says, Kylo agreed Cyberpunk ran fine for me on PC, but looking at the disaster on console and AMD products. Those lists are both consoles or a quick way to debunk the company's lied claim? Yeah, absolutely, Reese. You can even hit 60 DPS Alan Wake 2 with the 1390K and 4090 with the bells and whistles turned on. That would be the Gen or 2 from now for what we to that to happen. Oh, then a good with the 3070 whipping my tears or wiping my tears. Sarge says they should upgrade the games that could not. I know it takes time to optimize. Yeah, but what I'm saying is you're saying that they lie, but they didn't lie. Because these games that are coming out that might not hit 60 frames per second, like Gotham Knights didn't have to hit 60 frames per second. Everyone's expectations was like, well, it's a new system, so the game's going to hit 60 frames per second. It's just not. Nowhere did Montreal EDS say, oh yeah, our game's coming out because of what it is. Now they did do it a little shy at the very last second on Discord. They came out and said, oh yeah, it's not 60 frames per second. But like nobody asked ahead of time. But they don't have to hit the 60 frames per second. Nowhere does it say that a third-party system or third-party company has to make 60 frames per second for the systems. Doesn't say it. There's a reason I play more games on console than I do PC. Because I'm a streamer. You guys can see when I play PC games, a lot of games struggle while I'm streaming. So I choose to play it on console because it's in better experience for you and for me, where I'm not having issues while I'm streaming, right? So I'm okay playing a game at 30 frames per second. It's not game breaking for me. I can enjoy a game at 30 frames per second. Now, some of your eyes might not be able to enjoy it, but that's just what it is. Do you think dropping the last gen is why people assumed it would be above 30 for Gotham Knights? Yeah. The people assumed it was going to be that. Expectations that they never set, the company never set for Gotham Knights. The people expected, well, they're getting rid of the old system, so that means it's going to be 60 frames per second, but they never said it was 60 frames per second. Everyone assumed. You know what happens when people assume? It makes an ass of you and me. Well, I don't want to say it's bullshit, Travis. I mean, people get nauseous. People can't wear headsets for VR because it makes them nauseous. Okay? So that's not a lie. People that played 30 frames per second were fine playing 30 frames per second, but then they started playing games at 60 frames per second, and then when they try to go back to 30 frames per second, they get nauseous. That's a thing, right? Right? And I understand people getting upset that a game doesn't hit 60 frames per second because maybe they want to play that game, but now they get nauseous when they play 30 frames per second, or now that you've had it, you can't go back type of thing. But, you know, it is what it is. Sarge says, my comment is only because they release a new gen system without any new gen games. We had to wait years to optimization. Yes, we're upgrading it, all for hype of a system that never delivered. But that goes across all the boards. Even the last gen systems, like, oh, more visual quality of stuff. And then you had to wait years for it. That happens with every system. Come on, Sarge. You know that you never buy a system when it comes out. You buy a system 2 to 3 years into the cycle because that's when the games start coming out and they actually are running at what they say they're supposed to run at. It's 2024. 60 frames should be industry standard. Assumption be damned. I mean, again, Farmer, you're saying that the standard should be across the board, but you don't have no idea what it takes to go and make a game from 30 frames to 60 frames based on the amount of people that are working on the actual game, right? Maybe it's just not feasible for that company to do it, hence why they don't do it. I know it's crazy, right? We're assuming that the standard is 60 frames per second because one game came out and it was 60 frames, so now all games need to be 60 frames. All I'm saying is you can't hold the standard for the entire industry when the people making the game systems say that our systems can run 60 frames per second, up to 120 frames per second. So if people make the game, our systems can run it. It doesn't say that we made a system that can run it and all games that are coming out are going to hit those marks. It never says that. The difference between 30 and 60 is like me being drunk and sober. Even 60 has been a bare minimum of PC for a long time. And I get that, right? I get that people, I'm not affected by it, right? I don't get motion sickness on a lot of things. I'm also not afraid of heights and a whole bunch of other things, right? So there's a lot of people that it affects, and I understand it's a thing. But you can't expect everybody in the industry to hit those marks when it's not a standard. It's not a standard. It should be a standard for the people that claimed it, and all their first-party titles that come out are hitting those marks for sure. But third-party, I don't think so. I can accept outliers, especially graphically demanding games like limited hardware such as consoles. Akuta Papa says 60 frames can't be an industry standard. The amount of fidelity that that some games take, absolutely amazing. The last 4 years, I've seen textures hitting 4K, 8K standards. I mean, look at the photorealism of Star Wars Battlefront 2, and it hits 120 frames per second, right? Or does it hit? Does it hit 60? No, it hits. Let me see where it is. What did it say? Star Wars. It's 60 frames, right? No, 120 frames per second. Yeah, Star Wars Battlefront 2 on the Xbox Series X hits 120 frames per second. Third-party game, 120 frames per second, and it also does 60 frames per 60 and 120 frames. They don't have to hit that. And look at the visual. Visually, it's immaculate. One of the best-looking games in our lifetime. And it also hits 120 frames per second. If a person can't play 30 now, I would argue they could. Travis, for you to say that is like saying someone drinks 2 beers or whatever and they get drunk. You're like, well, I don't get drunk. That doesn't mean, okay, that the other person has the same drinking capacity as you or doesn't have the drink. You know what I'm saying? So to say that they can't play those games anymore, it literally makes them feel ill. So why would they play a game that makes them feel ill? You understand what I'm saying? You're just denouncing everything. You're like, it's bullshit that they can't play the game. They played it for all their whole year. Yeah, they did play it because their eyes were used to the 30 frames per second. But now they're playing games at 60 or 120 frames per second, and your eyes adjust to that. And then when they go back to 30, they're like, something makes me feel awkward. I don't want to play anymore. You can't say that's not true. Let's see. To answer your question, Xbox Series X Battlefront 2 FPS is at 120 hertz at 4K or not. On the Xbox Series X, the Battlefront 2 able to do 120 at 4K or not? If not, can it do 60 hertz? And if so, is it the case that Xbox... Oh, what the hell happened? Let's see. No, you're getting 4K at 120. You're getting 1080p with the low medium graphics to get 120 frames per second, right? So there you go. So the graphic setting stays the same. It's just resolution that gets the hit. I could play 30 when I was at 360 back in the day, but it converted to PC in 2013 and forgot how 30 looked. And now I go back and it hurts my eyes and I get nauseous. Yeah, I get that. Let me see what you guys... Campaign or just PvP? I don't know. I don't know that answer. Don't know that answer. Yeah, so a lot of people can't go back. But to then say that all games need to hit that standard, I mean, that's just ridiculous. Again, I'll say it one more time. If it's the first party titles and the company said that their games are going to hit that mark, then I think they should hit that mark because that's what they said. Go on, Charles. Happy New Year. Travis is just, he's always an angry person. What happens? Because I just want you to leave. I want you to leave this chat. I don't agree with what you're saying, so I hate you. You guys have to lighten up. Just video games. This is why I can't play Bloodborne. I want to play Bloodborne so bad, but every time I do, it starts to hurt my eyes. Yeah, I mean, I know where you're coming from. It doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect me. And that's why I don't care if I play a game at 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second or 120 frames per second. Do I notice a difference? Absolutely, 100%. The console games that launched at 60 that I can think of had issues too. Sure. Because they're trying to push something that they can't do well. See, I personally would rather play 4K at 30 frames per second than play 120 frames per second at 1080p. Okay? That's me, though. I don't think that should be the standard. Can you imagine these young gamers in 20 years? I don't even think they'll make it 20 years, Z. I think they'll be so stressed out and angry. I think they will be so angry. So ridiculous. Hurts your eyes? Suck it up and play. Back in my day, we didn't even have eyes. Farmer says 1080p, 60 frames all day. Yeah, to me, it's not a big deal. I will never get in an argument with anybody about what's better. 4K, 2K, 1080p, whatever. Whatever you can play on, right? Because, I don't know, maybe I grew up differently, right? My very first TV was a black and white television that I had to adjust into, and I played Nintendo on it. Until I was in 7th grade when I got my first colored television set. Because I got straight A's in middle school, did I get my first television. That was color. So, I had a small little television set, black and white. With the, right? So, I really don't care if it's 30, 60, 1080p, 2K, 4K, 8K, 16K, 32K. I don't give a shit. I play because I like playing, and it doesn't hurt my eyes. Have you tried playing 15 frames per second and then working your way up? I played Pong and monochromatic on the quarter per play box. All you need to relax. Exactly right. I'll take 60 plus frames over 30 anyway. Sure. Look, if a game comes out, right? Like I didn't dislike Gotham Knights because of 30 frames per second. Do you know what I mean? Now, obviously, would it have been better for my eyes or whatever at 60 frames? Sure. but the game wasn't shit because of the 30 frames per second. At least for me. I mean, I'm pretty sure back in the day, most things are 60 frames if it didn't start to go to 30 until we got 3D. No. Let's see. Let's see. You're watching television, okay? It says it was shot in 30 frames per second. It was actually shot in 24 or 25 frames per second for television, okay? Using 24 frames per second for NTSC television. In England, they shot at 25 frames per second to match the PAL frame rate, okay? Now, video games... This is back from 2015. This is just a bunch of frames per second retro games. Yeah, this is like a forum thing. It says all the talk about modern games discussion these days seems to be about frames per second, whether games run at 30 or 60 frames per second or whatever. Just made me wonder what sort of speeds we used to enjoy in the old days. Okay. So it says PAL is 25 frames per second or 50 fields per second interlace, same as the NTSC. It's 30 frames per second or 60 fields per second. And you take your two fields and even odd lines and picture alternating, combines them to form a single whole image every 1/25 or 1/30 of a second. Hence the doubling of the number required due to the interlaced nature of it. So as how games manage to render 50 to 60 unique frames per second, while the average CRT only displayed 25 to 30 whole frames per second, is something I'm not clued up on. Somebody else might be, hopefully. Okay. So, let's see here. That doesn't really... These guys are all saying the same stuff. Okay. Frame rate. Frame rate commonly expressed as frames per second, typically a frequent rate. Okay. It says the human vision... Temporary sensitivity of resolution human vision varies depending on the type of characteristics of visual stimulation. It differs between individuals. The human visual system can process 10 to 12 images per second and perceive them individually, while higher rates are perceived as motion. Modular light, such as a computer display, and perceive a stable majority of participants in the study. When the rate is higher than 50 hertz, the perception of the modular light is steady as known as flicker fusion. Okay. It says people have been found to recognize a specific image as an unbroken series of different images, each in which lasts as 30 milliseconds. Okay. Silent films. In the early silent film, rates anywhere between 60 and 24 frames per second. Okay. It says minimized perspective flicker projects employ dual and triple band stutters. So each frame is displayed 2 or 3 times, increasing the flicker rate from 48 to 72 hertz, reducing eye strain. Okay. Thomas Edison said 46 frames per second was minimum needed for the eye to perceive motion. Anything less than strained the eye. In the middle of the 1920s, the frame rate and silent film increased to 20 to 26 frames per second. When sound film was introduced in 1926, variations of film speed were no longer tolerated. As a human ear is more sensitive than the eye to change its frequency, many theaters had shown silent films at 22 to 26 frames per second, which is why the industry chose 24 frames per second for sound film and compromise. So in 1927 and 1930, various studios updated equipment rate to 24 frames per second became a standard for 35 millimeter sound and film. At 24 frames per second, the film projected the rate of 456 millimeters, 18 in per second, and it allowed 2 blade stutters to give projected series an image of 48 per second. Okay. Animation. Drawing animation moving characters are often shot on 2s. And they also say one drawing is shown for every 2 frames of film, which usually runs at 24 frames per second, meaning there's only 12 drawings per second. All right. Modern video standards. Due to the main frequencies of electric grids, analog television broadcast was developed for frame rates of 50 hertz. Most of the world is 60 hertz, Canada, US, Japan, South Korea, and the frequent electrical grid is extremely stable. Therefore, it was logical to use synchronization. Okay, as of 2021, video transmission standards in North America, Japan, and South Korea are still basis of 60 of 1.001, which is 59.94 image per second. 2-size images are typically used at 1920 by 1080, so 1080i/p, and 1280 by 720 for 720p. So, as a native 24 frames rate, film could not be displayed on 60 hertz without necessary pull-down process, often leading to jitters. To convert 24 frames per second to 60 frames per second, every old frame is repeated playing twice, and while every frame is tripled, it creates an uneven motion, appearing stroboscopic. Jesus. Other conversations have similar uneven frame doubling newer video standards into 120, 240, 300 frames per second, and the frames can evenly sample for standard frame rates such as 24, 48, and 60 frames per second for film, or 25, 30, 50, or 60 frames per second for video. Of course, the higher frame rates may also display a native rates. So, it's changed over the years, and now our eyes, we've evolved. We've evolved as a human, as species on the planet. We've evolved from the 10 to 12 to the 24 to the 30, the 60 frames per second to the 120. Everything back in the day was about 24 frames because it was the movie standard. Then it became 30 because of the monitor linear up to 29.999. Yeah. The CRT days, almost all games ran at 60 frames per second, 50 in PAL regions. We've mutated like X-Men. Yeah. Yeah, we've adapted to what the standard is, right? And obviously, it'd be like super hard to go find a CRT television to go watch your... Because a lot of the stuff was not even compatible to watch it on a CRT anymore. Oh, for sure. For sure. And even when you look at older films that they've redo, right? It looks fine. Some of the stuff is dated, all depending on what kind of film and stuff they used. All this talk about frames per second, but nothing on what we actually need to bring back couch co-op. Well, couch co-op, if you want to play couch co-op, you play Nintendo. Everything else, you won't get because the Microsoft and Sony don't want you to play on one system. They want you to buy multiple systems. That helps you sell one copy. Now you sell 2 minimum. Oh, sure, Digit. Yeah. Again, each person is different, right? Some people see certain things. Other people don't see the certain things. Halo Infinite multiplayer will let you play couch co-op. Sure, but what I'm saying is the majority of systems and games now don't do couch co-op because they want to sell more copies of things. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. If you can stop people from playing the same thing on one system. They're like, well, how do we get more sales? Well, what about if we make certain games that are couch, or they're not couch co-op, and we let them buy another system? Then we sell 2 systems, and then we sell 2 games. It says here, couch co-op. You got It Takes Two, Rayman Legends, Overcooked, Rocket League, Cuphead, Diablo 3, A Way Out, Broforce, Minecraft. Right? There's still games that are couch co-op. It's just not as frequent anymore. There's like 40 games here. It goes all the way back to like Left 4 Dead 2. So do we see another remake nominated for Game of the Year this year? I don't know. I'll have to tell you after certain games come out that are Game of the Year, like that are remakes. What's coming out this year that's a remake? Like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is a different. It's not a remake, right? It's a different game. The days of dividing a 24-inch TV screen into 4 sections are over, thankfully. Oh, God, those are the worst. Those are the worst. Yeah, here, hold on. Let me see if I... Like this... People hated it. People hated it. Let's see if I can find a picture. Split screen was terrible. No, that's not a good one. That's why everyone brought their own television set and you linked them for a LAN party. The worst. There's no video evidence. There's so many people that have it where they brought their own televisions, but I can't find... So shitty. Here, let's see. Yeah, because I see the pictures of them, but I want to show you on an actual CRT. You can kind of tell in this picture. Right? You can kind of tell in this picture. Right? So you can see GoldenEye over here. Right? On the far right. It was terrible though. I had back in the day, I had a what was year 2000, 2003, 2004. When I went to college, whoever lived there before me had this television set that wasn't supposed to be there, but they bought it and they left it there. It was gigantic. It was so hard to move. It was I want to say it was like a 40-inch CRT. This freaking thing was massive. It took four of us to pick it up to move it when we brought it to people's houses. Because it was ridiculous. It took up the whole back of the seat of the car. Getting in the car, if you only could get into certain cars that the door would open a little wider because you couldn't swing it in there. It was ridiculous. Rose said, I had a 45-inch GE CRT. The thing had weight close to 300 pounds. Yet it was... It might be the same one. I forget what brand it was. It was ridiculous, Rose. When I tell you 4 college kids, okay, had to pick it up and because it was awkward, it was heavy, it was backhand heavy. You had to, you know, keep it going down the stairs and stuff. But when you got it set up and played, it was nice because it was a big screen. Here, it was like this. Is there the weight on this thing? Well, that's only a 27-inch. I need a 40-inch. Okay, so this is about right. Yeah, actually, this was it. Okay. This is just a random picture on the internet, but look at this girl sitting down. This is a 42-inch CRT Mitsubishi, okay? She is sitting down and squat, you know, like Indian style, and her head hits the top of the screen. Look how big this television set is. Right? It's gigantic. You had to deadlift this thing to get it up out of the ground. I grew up with a 19-inch CRT in the living room. Once I started working, I bought a Magnavox 27-inch for $450. Must have weighed 120 pounds. Yeah, I don't know what this Mitsubishi... Let me see. Mitsubishi CRT. Let me see if I can get the weight on it. 300 pounds. Close to 300 pounds. Yeah. The device is a piece of video history. One of the largest CRT monitors ever made. 4x3, 42-inch diagonal, and weighs close to 300 pounds. I think my brother-in-law has it. I think I gave it to him. He's one of those guys that likes to collect things, hold things, like take things apart and whatnot. You could work out with that thing. It was awkward to pick up. It was awkward to pick up. You're a nerd. How did you have muscles? I was athletic. I played sports. My first TV, my iPad is the same size, like screen-wise. Right? I think it was a 8-inch. 8-inch, I want to say Sony. Let me see if I can look it up. Let's see. It had the wood trim on it. It had the knobs on the right side. This is close. This is close. It didn't have a handle up on the top, but this was it, basically. It was something like this. I don't even know where I got it. think one of our old relatives was getting rid of it or something, and I wanted a TV. I watch Johnny Carson and stuff on it. It didn't have knobs down here. It just had it over here on the right side. I don't know if I forget if it was a Sony or not, but yeah, it was like this. It's like this one right here. It had all the knobs over here, over on the right side. That was my first TV. You had the little antennas on the back of it. You dial it in. You gotta turn the knob to get it in focus. And I find it funny now because now this is bigger, right? This is bigger than my first television set. Oh yeah, we brought that up on stream before, Sarge. That television set, it was a tank. It had a record player, a beta tape, speakers, had a whole. It was gigantic. It was all in one system. That was a Sony one. Everything was included in the actual television. Wasn't that a Sony? Not that one. The other one? I don't remember the other one. Are you talking about the one that was in New York that we left? I remember the one up in the family room. Guest room, all wood. I don't remember that one. Guest room. Are you guys sure you're not rich? Well, to be honest, when we first moved in, me and him shared a room. That's why there was a guest room. And we actually had, I don't know if you want to call him a roommate, but our house when we first moved to Florida, we had a guest room, and somebody paid rent to live in that room. So yeah, I'm pretty sure we weren't rich. Yeah, I'm pretty sure if my parents had someone paying rent in one of the extra bedrooms and working two jobs, we weren't rich. His name was Angel, Sarge. Yeah, his name was Angel. And do you remember what type of car he drove? I remember what kind of car he drove and what color it was. That's right. That's right. Honda CRX. That's right. Yeah. Crazy how you remember certain shit like that. So a ricer? No. Back then, that didn't exist. Now, he didn't have any rims or anything, nice things with that. It wasn't a burner or anything like that. You guys had an amazing mom? We have. She's alive. Thoughts in 280Z? Yeah. That was the first car I had. And until, well, it was the first car I had, and then he took it from me. Yeah. He had two of them. He had a blue one and a black one. The black one had the T-tops. And then that's when I got the Honda. That's the one with the windshield wipers didn't work, and it had a leak on the upper part of the glass. So when it rained, you'd be driving, and the water would shear up, and then it would go into the crack, and then it would come out in the middle of the car. That was fantastic. Fantastic. I have so many stories. One of my best friends at the time, every time it rained, we had a towel in the car, okay, and the windshield wipers didn't work, so he would roll the window down, like sit on the window and just wipe the window so we didn't die. So we didn't die because the windshield wipers didn't work. Fantastic stuff. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we weren't rich. I'm pretty sure. we were my dad had an Oldsmobile. 1970, I think it was a 77 Oldsmobile. I don't even know what color it was, because it was just primer, right? It was just primer. Was it gray? I never knew. It was just primer. It was just rust and primer. This thing was a fucking beast. 19 feet. I think it was 19 and a half feet long. And it sounded like I have memories, right? I have memories of, you could tell when my dad was coming home because it was like you could hear this fucking thing from miles away. I shit you not. So I'd be out in the front yard and I would have stuff in the driveway. I'd be playing in the driveway because, you know, kids back then actually played outside. And you could hear this thing coming, and I'd be playing, and all of a sudden I go, gotta clean up. And my friends are like, what? Why? I said, my dad is coming. Dude, I'm not being facetious. You could hear it from miles away. And then he would come in, and the driveway had this dip, and every time it hit, because it was so long, it would scratch the driveway, okay, and it literally took up the whole entire driveway. It would literally be this far off the ground in the back. Yeah, see? Sarge knows. Scrapes every time. Yeah. From the front to the garage, bumper, like up on it like this, all the way to the back of the driveway where it was literally touching the ground. Here, I'll bring it up. Look, 1970. Was it a 77? It was an Oldsmobile Cutlass, wasn't it? 4-door. It was a 4-door. It had the lights in the back with the angled, I think. can't remember what the back looked like. It had pointy lights, didn't it? No, I think it actually could fit 12. Z. From the stories that my parents used to say when they went to drive-in movies, they would put all their friends in the trunk, and I think they fit 12 adults. Yeah, farmer. At least 3. You could fit 10 people in there. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think it was like 12 people were in that car. It was ridiculous. Here, I'll just show you a 4-door, like how big it was. This is not the exact car though. Right? This is not the car. Okay, but this is the car. Look how long that front of the car is. But this thing, the front is as long as the back. Okay? If you hit somebody with that car, you're not worried about getting in a car wreck. Real bumpers, yeah. I don't think people know what bumpers are now. They're just attached to the car. They're just like blended in. The bumper weighed like 200 pounds. Here, you know what? I'm gonna call my dad right now. I'm gonna call my dad right now and see if he picks up. Hold on. I'm gonna ask him. Hey, Dad, I have a question for you. I'm streaming right now. What kind of car did you have? Was Oldsmobile what? What was your Oldsmobile? What type of Oldsmobile was it? 98? No. Oh, 90. Well, what year did it come out? 76? 76, 98? It was a 4-door, right? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. All right, bye. All right, here it is. Here's the car. When I tell you the front is as long as the back, okay? The front is as long as the back, and basically this is it. This is what I remember, like the rust bucket. Okay? Look at this thing. This thing, 1976 Oldsmobile 98. Okay? And this was the interior. This was the interior into that car. Okay? This thing was gigantic. Let me see if this is... Yeah, here it is. This is close. Look how big that thing is. You could fit, like I said, the back of the car was as big as the front of the car. I could sleep in the back window till I was like 12. Like, I could lay across the back of the car and I wouldn't touch either side. Sarge would lay on the back, like on the actual back seat, and I would lay in the window. As he's driving down the road, there'd be a kid in the back window. Oh yeah, I've seen some at the old car shows. They're amazing looking, and it brings back so much memories. That one was a 2-door. This is a 4-door. The 4-door, and the sound, the doors. As a kid, I could never close the door because the doors weighed so much. Now let's see what the weight capacity of this car was. We're almost done here. Let's see. Okay, so this car weighed 4,820 pounds. Stretched 232.2 inches long. 127-inch wheelbase. And 19.35 feet long. That is a yacht. That is a yacht. Sarge had a 67 Mustang when he got older. I never got to drive it. He got rid of the car before I could drive. But that thing was a beast. Yeah, he had the big cars, and then my mom always had the smaller. He drove we had a Volkswagen Beetle, like the old school. I'm an Xbox pony because of a Mustang. How does that one equate to the other? You could literally open the hood, Farmer, and you could get inside. Like, you could literally stand in. You could stand inside. The velvet red velvet interior. I can still hear that car in my head. I close my eyes, I can hear it. All right. We're done for the day. We talked about some... we didn't talk about the third story, which was basically just Square Enix talking about AI. I'll push that to another day. But we talked about Outlaws today. We talked about the top games coming out for 2024. I have about 5 games that I'm looking forward to. 2 of them, I don't even know if they're releasing this year, right? The first Ascendant I'm interested in, but it comes out supposedly in the summer. And then also Transformers Reactivate, which is, don't think it releases this year, but I think the beta comes out later this year. But I'm really looking forward to those. Besides that, the Star Wars Outlaw game hopefully comes out sometime. It was supposed to be out in March, but it got pushed back, I believe, to a later date, which might get pushed back to 2025. But we'll see what happens. I'll be back tonight for some more gameplay. Don't forget, we have an upload that went live, I think, at noon today, which was yesterday's. So if you missed out yesterday's to talk about the Spider-Man breaking up into 3 parts, that went live at noon. Appreciate it very much. I'll see you guys on the next one. You have a great rest of your day. Peace.